Hey guys, Fetch here. So today I wanted to talk about a very important topic. Since I told you guys in my first video that I'm gender fluid, I thought that it would be a good topic for me to discuss, and I'm help spread information because it's very important that I understand it. And if you are questioning or you are doubt somebody you know gender fluid, or if you just want to be better informed, then this video is for you. And if you can help spread awareness, and if you can help spread this video and show people and explain it to people so that they better understand, that would be fantastic, and that's what I do in this video. First, I want to address that gender is a spectrum and everybody experiences it differently, and there's your two binary genders, there's male and there's female and there's everything in between. And the way that everybody experiences certain genders is different, and that's something that should be respected. So the way I experience this is not going to be the same way that everybody who is gender fluid experiences it. So I just want to say that first off. The definition for it, someone who is gender fluid has a gender that can change and switch. May switch between male, female, utros, third gender, or any genderqueer identity. It can also switch between combinations at the same time, such as male and female, or other mixes such as male, utros, or a third gender. The gender can combine varying amounts of gender identities, 3, 4, or 5, or many with which the individual identifies. It can also be many but not every gender in combination at once, a term known as polygender. That's kind of a lot to take in and maybe hard to process for some people. But basically, a person who is gender fluid may move from female to male to anything in between. For me, I move between male, female, and agender. And agender is when you do not experience any gender. And there's 4 important terms that I kind of want to talk about. There's sex, which is either of the main 2 categories, male and female, and the reproductive systems of those. So intersex, which is when someone is born with either male nor female reproductive system. It's often not discussed enough. And then there's gender identity, which is what I'm focusing on in this video. It's one's internal sense of self, as male, female, both or neither. So there's cis and then there's trans, and if you're cis, you identify your gender identity with the sex you were assigned at birth, and then there's trans, in which you identify differently with a different gender than the sex you were assigned at birth. So trans covers non-binary people as well. And then there's gender expression, which is the way that you present yourself, all of the external characteristics and behaviors that are socially defined as either masculine, feminine, such as dress, grooming, mannerisms, speech patterns, and social interactions. That's all set up from societal norms. Gender roles, which are sets of societal norms dictating what types of behaviors are generally considered acceptable, appropriate, or desirable for a person based on their actual or perceived sex. And gender roles are what we are looking to destroy, not gender identity. Gender identity is important. It's okay if you don't like labels, like cool, you don't have to label yourself, but gender identity is important, and labels are important for a lot of people to feel like they are valid and there are other people like them and they are not alone. Don't bash on people's labels because they're important for most people, even if they're not important for you. But gender roles are something that society has created that is not necessarily something that should be held anymore, because it's problematic. It can damage people's sense of self, because people don't understand and aren't informed about gender identity, and that you don't have to conform to gender roles. Like, that's not something that's innate, that's been created through society. Those are the 4 terms. The other thing I wanted to talk about was dysphoria. It can be experienced in different ways. It can feel uncomfortable with either your body, your reproductive system, your voice, the way that you're perceived, which is a big one for me. Like, that's what I have the hardest time with because of the societal standards that are created. I have a hard time when people perceive me differently than what gender I'm feeling at that time, and it makes it hard. Probably wouldn't feel that way if societal norms had not been set up the way that they have been, and if people understood. The thing is, dysphoria doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be. I'll create a whole nother video about that, and I will at some point. It's important to know that some non-binary people do transition because of dysphoria, and that's okay. You don't have to be full-on trans and identify as the opposite gender you were assigned at birth to transition. Like, whatever is comfortable for you is what's comfortable for you. For me, when I am male, I want to be perceived as male, which is why I express myself as masculine. And when I'm feeling agender, when I am agender, I want to appear androgynous so that I'm either perceived as male or female. And people just don't kind of know, because I kind of don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I conform to the different levels of expression, but not all gender fluid people do, and that's okay. Like, some gender fluid people always present feminine, or some of them always present masculine, or some of them always present androgynous, and that's totally okay. It doesn't have to be a certain way. It's not a bad thing. Basically, I just kind of wanted to give a short overview of what gender fluidity is to me, and a short little. I'm going to create another video later that touches on all the different non-binary identities and kind of explain some of those. But this is basically just focusing on gender fluidity because that's what I personally experience and know the most about and can be most informative for. So if you are questioning and you need to talk to somebody and you are trying to figure things out, then you can always come to me. Like, I'll be your go-to person that'll be supportive and listen and then try to understand and do what I can to be there for you on my social networking sites. Yeah, so that's about it. I hope this was informative and helpful at all. I'll do my best to explain. If I said anything that could have been problematic or anything at all, just let me know. I don't want to be that person. And remember, you are an amazing human being, and you will get through this. And if you feel is valid, and you are valid, and you are important, and it's all going to turn out okay, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. It will. So, yeah. See you guys next time. I love you guys. Hey, this is a really awkward angle and I don't know how to do this right, but I just thought of another thing that I wanted to point out. Gender can change. Your gender identity and your sexuality even, like, it can change and evolve with time, and that's completely and 100% okay. You do not have to be stuck to the label that you label yourself at one time for the rest of your life. Like, you are a growing person and you can change, and that's okay. Like, some days, like, if you're gender fluid, you understand, like, I have had guy days like continuously for the past month, and so sometimes I'm like, oh my god, what if I'm just trans? Which could be true. That's okay. For now, I identify as gender fluid, and that's okay. And you may discover different things about yourself and identify differently in the future, and that's okay. I just wanted to add that on. Yeah, bye guys.